Hello everybody, welcome to Deluxe Collectibles. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hilda Season 1, Episode 1, The Hidden People. I will be formatting and writing this review as a video essay, where the main question we will be answering will be, was it a good start? And the categories that I will be ranking this episode will feature plot analysis and highlights, characters, references, and connections to the source material, and animation. Then to conclude, we will evaluate the final verdict for the episode, and then we will provide a score out of 5, and without further ado, we will begin with the plot analysis. Each episode of Hilda opens up with its main theme by Canadian singer-songwriter Claire Elise Boucher, known professionally as Grimes. This theme sets the tone of the show perfectly, and in my opinion, by having a calming and mysterious sound to it. The animation playing during the course of the theme song feels exceptionally fluid while it flows flawlessly with the music. In addition, it provides a teasing overlook at some of the characters that will be featured throughout the show. After the theme concludes, we are then flown across the skies, aided by the Great Raven, who is a character whom we will be later introduced to in episode 3, and in addition, during the flight we get a glimpse at the Weather Lady's headquarters in the backdrop, who will also be featured in a later episode. We are then coupled with Hilda and Twig, who are journeying through the forest and proceedingly encounter a troll. Luckily, it is still daytime, so the sunlight encases the troll in stone. Hilda takes this opportunity to retrieve her sketchbook and illustrate the troll. She finishes her drawing directly at sundown and proceeds to leave for home, except before she can leave, the troll awakens from its slumber and starts to chase Hilda and Twig all the way back to her home. When they arrive at her house, the troll corners them and seems to be readying an attack, but instead the troll collapses in distress over the bell that Hilda had earlier tied around its nose to alert her when it wakes up. Hilda advances towards the troll to untie the bell, and once she finishes, the troll then tightly grasps her while opening its mouth seemingly to eat her, but instead returns her sketchbook. This conclusion to this sequence feels exceptionally wholesome, and I enjoyed that instead of making the troll a one-dimensional mindless beast, they instead show that you should not judge a book by its cover. Throughout this show, you'll start to notice the social commentary that the series provides on our societal habits. I also like the quote that Hilda says at the end of this ordeal, "Well, that was traumatizing, but such is the life of an adventurer." We now get to enter Hilda's home, which I must say appears as incredibly cozy. We are then introduced to the woodman, who happily invites himself in. Then they receive a knock at their door where they find a letter that is warning them to move or else their house will be destroyed. We learn that this is not the first time they've received this threat. Hilda proceeds to respond in a letter explaining that they are nice people and to please leave them alone. I really admire Hilda's calm and passive nature, because even while receiving a threatening letter, she is still able to keep her cool and respond in a friendly manner. They then move on to play Dragon's Panic, which, let me say, I would absolutely love the opportunity to own a physical copy of this awesome looking game. It then transitions to nighttime, and we see Hilda and her mom have fallen asleep but are suddenly disturbed by loud noises, which escalates to their entire house being defiled by the mysterious individuals who had earlier sent the threatening letter. Hilda is fortunately able to fend off the mysterious creatures, but their house is still left in disarray. Hilda's mom Joanna suggests that they may be forced to move to Trollberg to avoid this from happening again. Hilda once again responds in a letter asking that these people please leave them alone and suggests that they can both live in peace. Hilda and her mom then head to bed. Unfortunately, in the middle of the night, she is woken up by Elfer, who is an elf that has read her letter and wants to explain the situation. But of course, before anything can be explained, Hilda has to sign some documents that can authorize her to see the hidden people in their village. I think that it is interesting how much the elves rely on paperwork to keep order. It reflects our own society and how we utilize laws to keep our own people in order. Nevertheless, Hilda signs the document and follows Elfer outside, where she can now see the hidden village. Elfer explains that his people are fearful of Hilda and her mom because of their large, intimidating size. Hilda wants to prove that they will not be a danger to Elfer's people, so she asks to speak to the individual in charge. Elfer suggests that Hilda can have a meeting with their king, which pleases Hilda, and then she returns home. The next day, Hilda and Elfer venture up an enormous snowy mountain where the king lives. When they arrive, the king stumbles out of his castle holding his heavily pregnant cat, Angelina. Now, let me tell you that I absolutely love this cat. I think that its design and mannerisms are extremely cute and cozy. I mean, this cat literally crawls up into Hilda's hair to use it as a blanket. Hilda informs the mayor that if he does not tell her where the Prime Minister lives, that she will keep his beloved cat in her hair forever. The mayor gives in to her demands and tells her that the Prime Minister resides behind the large waterfall in the forest. Thus, Hilda returns Angelina and her and Elfer embark to the waterfall. When they arrive, it throws the residents into a panic, but Hilda assures them that she only wants to talk. This calms them down and they begin their discussion. The Prime Minister explains that he only said he would get rid of them in order to win the election. This is an excellent example of false promises and how he misled the people in order to achieve his own goals. This is a connection that anyone in our world who are familiar with politics could relate to, and this demonstrates what sort of adult topics the show can utilize and tackle. Moving on, he unfortunately says it's out of his control and that only the king can make the decision of whether or not to allow Hilda and her mom to stay. Hilda wallows out of the cave feeling defeated and asks Elfer if he would take her to the king. At first he hesitates but rethinks and agrees to help her. This ending really gets me and others, I'm sure, because losing your home is one of the worst situations to be in, and having to see this scenario happen to Hilda is absolutely gut-wrenching. In the end, I'm glad that the episode was still able to end on a high note, but I'm also glad that it was not afraid to deal with the difficult decisions and scenarios that can also end in sadness. Alright, now that we've finished the plot analysis, we're going to move forward to discuss the character analysis. Within the first episode of Hilda, we are introduced to, of course, Hilda, Twig, Joanna, the Woodman, Elfer, the Elf Mayor, Angelina, the heavily pregnant cat, and the Elf Prime Minister. There are also cameos from future characters including the Great Raven and Jorgen, but they are not given any speaking lines. Hilda is an adventurous character who can be headstrong but always has good intentions and is always attempting to please everyone and help whoever she can. Twig is her loyal deer fox who tags along with her on her adventures and will only step forward to protect her. For instance, when the battalion of rabbits were hurtling towards Hilda, Twig jumps in front of them to scare them off. Joanna is Hilda's mom, and I love their relationship with each other. I can relate very closely to Hilda and her mom's relationship because I feel that I share a similar relationship with my own mom. The Woodman does not have a huge presence within this episode, but we are introduced to him and are shown that he seems to intrude on the family often and enjoys their cozy home. Elfer is the main elf who befriends Hilda due to them both wanting peace between each other, and Elfer is kind and caring, going to further lengths to assist Hilda in maintaining her home. The Elf Mayor and his heavily pregnant cat Angelina are hilarious and bring a nice variety to the cast of characters featured within this episode. The final main character in this episode is the Elf Prime Minister, who turns down Hilda's requests and explains that there is nothing he can do for her. The cast of characters introduced in this episode are very interesting, and I feel that they each have a story that I'm eager to follow throughout the course of the series. Hilda is based off its graphic novel counterpart of the same name and similar design, so it would be logical that there are story and design references in the show. There are currently 5 Hilda graphic novels that have been released, and a final 6th volume waiting to be released on September 3rd of 2019, titled Hilda and the Mountain King. For this episode, we are going to focus on the 1st and 2nd volumes, which include Hilda and the Troll and Hilda and the Midnight Giant, because that is what this episode of Hilda is referencing the most. So in both of these volumes, basically the main core of this episode kind of references both of them, with the first volume covering mainly the chase scene between Hilda and the troll that she is drawing a picture of. And then the second volume focuses mainly on the giant, of course, that aspect of it, with her kind of building that relationship, which kind of goes into episode 2 of the series, so it kind of covers more of that. But basically, volume 1 of the graphic novel series is mainly from where this first episode takes the most from, and they're fairly similar. The art style is a little bit different, but for the most part, it's very faithful to the source material while still adding new content as well, which is always nice. It's always great to get new things for a series like this, because you want to, of course, reinvent it so that readers of the graphic novel will be able to still have some new things to kind of notice throughout the series. And of course, this show brings a lot of new content to it as well, which we will of course go into within later reviews of the other episodes included in this season. But for episode 1, these are all of the references that were included, and that is it for this portion. Now, as I'm sure you're well aware, the animation within this show is stunning, from the wide and seemingly endless landscapes to the unique and spectacular character designs. The design of Hilda is of course very unique because of her signature teal hair, which I feel does a great job of visually representing her adventurous personality. Her home is a cozy and welcoming looking cabin, and the amount of detail put into every shot is unbelievable, and while still keeping their consistent warm and simplistic vibes, the nighttime scenes are incredible, and the shadow work is absolutely amazing. The blue color scheme gives the nighttime scenes a mysterious and eerie vibe that keeps me on the edge of my seat just waiting to see what happens. The animation of the character motions during every scene feels so fluid, especially during the troll chase at the beginning of the episode, which moves at an action-packed and thrilling pace that is extremely pleasing to the eye. The hidden village is also really well done and feels limitless to its coverage of the land where Hilda resides. Overall, the animation is amazing, and as the show progresses and explores its growing world, the animation only improves and becomes more ambitious. In conclusion, the Hidden People did a fantastic job of introducing us to Hilda's world and the characters living in it. The emotional roller coaster that this episode puts you on is glorious, and honestly had me on the verge of tears at the end. I'm going to be rating this episode a 5 out of 5 Thunderbirds, and I hope you all went on to enjoy this video essay and were able to learn something new about the show or view something from a different perspective. Now be sure to let me know your thoughts on this episode and what scores you would rate the Hidden People, and I'm interested to hear from all of you, so be sure to share. If you would want to see this series continue, then be sure to leave a like and also subscribe. I really appreciate any support you can give to the channel, and I'll talk to you all next time, and always remember, keep on collecting.